Welcome back to BioInsights, where we talk about really cutting edge technology, movement science, and human performance. Sometimes we're talking to top scientists, sometimes we're talking to business owners. Today, we're actually talking to a business owner, an operator, and a veteran in the industry. I want to welcome the Wellness Edge, where they cut through all the noise and really get real about what actually works in the fitness and wellness business. Uh, and what we're trying to tackle here is the costs to gym owners, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. So they make a decision. There's a capital expense. They buy some shiny equipment. It arrives. The Instagram posts start getting generated. Members are curious, and then what happens? Crickets. So what we try to see is here, how do we create a collecting of six figures out of potentially out of a machine, right? If you're going to invest this, how can we do it? Well, today I'm sitting down with Victor, the V-Man, who spent over 20 years in the industry and has radically a different approach. And Victor, founded this ROI in wellness with one controversial belief that it doesn't if it doesn't produce ROI, it doesn't really belong in business. So, not exactly what equipment vendors want to hear, right?
No.
So we're going to talk about this in why programming beats equipment every single time, and how out of a 9,500 square foot studio can increase revenue over 6 months of 32%, and why Victor believes that wellness should be treated as infrastructure, not as an experiment, which I fully support. If you're tired of throwing money at the latest trends and ready to really engineer some type of profit, I really hope that you get what we're going to be talking about. So, with no further ado, I want to introduce Victor, and I want to kick off the conversation with what are some telltale signs that someone's bought hype without a plan?
Wow. You man, you just hit me right between the eyes on that one and woke me up. So good. One example. So I was at two facilities in Texas this week, Dallas, Texas. I just got back last night just to make this podcast this morning with you, and I'm so grateful too for the opportunity. And let's shake some stuff
You.
up. I just, you know me, I am an anti, more of the same old type person. So to answer your question, I was at two major high-end facilities this week, and they charge a lot of money, and they've got some of these modalities in several of them, same identical thing in there. Staff had never been trained on them. Members just they were stuck in there. Said, hey, if you upgrade your membership, pay a little more membership, you get access to this. Did you hear that? You get access. What do you think a gym membership is? It's access to rent the equipment or use it. No guaranteed results with that. So same thing. They stick these wellness recovery modalities or equipment in this space inside the gym now. And they say, if you pay more, even more money, you'll have access to this additional stuff. And no one's using it. Wow, shocking surprise. No one's using it because, the staff doesn't believe in it because they weren't trained. They weren't asked or involved in the decision-making process. No one asked what the members' challenges or problems were and whether or not this modality or equipment would even solve it. But, hey, the owners, the upper management just made the decision. We'll show you. We know better than everybody else. They bought all this stuff, spent a lot of money, took a lot of square footage up. Again, it's multiples of the same stuff. There's no programming. There's no nothing. Just stick it in there. And guess what? Now they're stuck. And that's where it's at. And members were, you'd see a member or two occasionally use the stuff because it's not bad stuff. It's not the modality or the equipment's problem. It's, some good manufacturers that got some good brand name stuff. It's not that that's wrong. Just no staff training.
the two
No
follow-up.
member programming, no nothing, just stuff stuck in a place, and here you go. So that'd be a
So,
way I'd start that, answering that first question right there.
yeah. So what you've mentioned this topic as vendor chaos, right? That it's it does it really, what does it actually look like, and how does it really harms the business, right? So you brought up two parts of this. Trainers, right? Um, is it a lack of education because they've never programmed with it? They're probably at an age of their life that they don't really need this modality, and if they do get it, it's a perk. It's beneficial to them. No arguing that, but it almost resonates with maybe potentially maybe an older employee or a different um, personnel to be part of the organization to think outside this box, right? But at the same time, the owner and operator has to understand programming, and to your point, and the trainer has to deliver it, or the manager, the GM or the personal training manager or whatever wellness manager has to deliver this now. How do you, so what type of education really is important to this and how much? And then what's the ongoing support look like for it to operate appropriately?
Contraire, mon frere, let's answer that question. So, one
Yeah.
of the things that I learned from operating, 40 of the most successful locations in Chicago, New York, and DC for, 10 plus years. And, we were ranked in the top 10 out of the top 100 fitness clubs in the US. And
Can you
how we
name the
did
club
that,
or you can't?
what's that?
Can you name the club or can you?
Oh yeah, that was Export Fitness that we were so competitive. I mean, at that point in time when we were at our peak, we were averaging 24% new members purchasing personal training. It's the highest in the industry, and I don't know if any company's ever different, meaning from a big box company that's ever even come close to that. So that was the number we were because
So
we were focused on selling results, not just selling access.
I
And
just
again,
want
we
to
had a phenomenal.
add to that just for a second. I want to interrupt you for
Go
just a
ahead.
second. Now, so people have context to this. At that time, I met Victor through Polar. We had our top three. Yeah, me too. Still, our top three partners that we had. First was Lifetime. Second was Equinox. Number three was Export. And like if you look at the three models, that shows you that programming works because
Go.
export is the equivalent of what you would see in that middle tier that we're discussing throughout the US market right now. But go ahead,
Well,
you're talking
yeah.
about.
Well, because what that did was create engagement. Hey, monitoring and measuring stuff versus guessing, so, and giving us a clear direction. And the same thing is true with the recovery modalities, wellness and longevity. They're and biohacking, they're kind of in the same, they're different buckets, but the results and what people are looking for results is very similar. So going back to the staff at these locations, not involving them in the process. Well, a lot of the modalities that I use, and here's the crazy thing about the whole recovery, wellness, longevity thing. Most of these modalities, people only sell them, the manufacturers do. And again, they just love to sell you something, and there you have it. But they look at the recovery stuff and the wellness stuff only at the end of exercising or only as a passive thing that people do. Whereas we at ROI, we took it a whole nother level. We started saying, hey, could this be used to prep a body before they train? Instead of telling, here's for, I don't know, what, 30 plus years, they said, trainer or coach or even the staff, go warm up on a treadmill or an elliptical or bike for 5 minutes. Whatever the heck that means. And did it? Was it specific? Did it actually do what the person wanted to and help in any way? No one knows. So now when somebody comes to me and I ask them today, what are you training? And you say, I'm going to be training chest or butt or back or buys or whatever. I'll take like PMF, for example, and I'll put that loop on them. And, that I've got right behind me here. And you'll see them like jumping. It's not muscle stim, by the way. It's juicing them with energy, right? Pulsing electromagnetic energy into their body, blood flow, neural drive. And then when I have them go do a set of something or feel something, especially for a woman who wants to feel strong or toned or tight or something like that as well too, or a guy that wants to be massed and jacked, or an athlete that wants to be explosive, dynamic, and reactive, that PMF juicing them like that, when they go to perform that exercise and they feel a muscle contraction and all that extra blood flow and neural stimulation in there, it's a whole level that you become addicted to, that you become excited about and interested in. So there's where the coaching, trainers and coaches have to understand it's part of the process, and meaning the training and the programming process nowadays. It's not something you just tell people to go do when they're done. Like, oh, go foam roll yourself, go stretch yourself, oh, go get in a red light bed or the cryo chamber or the cold plunge. Do it yourself. No, everything's programmed specific based on the result and where they're at today. And if you want to take it up to the highest level, which is where I'm at now, and I love it, is DNA testing. We do DNA testing on every single person now, and then we integrate that into the membership or the training, but it tells us exactly what type of training somebody should be doing, what type of recovery, modalities they should be doing, nutrition, hydration, supplementation, sleep, everything. And it's all personalized, no guessing whatsoever. It's that person's genes that tell me what modalities and equipment, what type of training, and then I put the program and the recovery and everything together to help that member get the greatest result, the lowest amount of fatigue, and have the best quality of life. It's incredible.
So how you basically start off kind of backwards in your approach to a lot of owners and operators. You probably, I've heard you, I mean, ever since I've known you, you always start off with what's the potential outcome that I'm trying to build here. And then I try to look, you basically, your secret sauce has always been programming. And that's kind of what I got from your statement there. Um, what are teams missing on day one that kills their wellness offering when they deploy? Because to your point, I've seen it often. I referenced Polar back, and I did it with Mio. Everyone brought in wearables, but no one had the same outcomes. There's something to be said that you guys were playing at the same almost numbers as Equinox and Lifetime with us in regards to, how you're deploying programming. But I had the same, like I had other big franchises try to do the same. And the reason why, I mean, I know kind of the answer, but I would love to hear your answer on that one.
Okay, so first of all, you know it better than anybody. It's the training. So first of all, just like it was you, I worked with each one of the manufacturers, and this goes to flooring and lockers as well too. That's part of the member experience and and part of the wellness and recovery experience as well too. Because where we have these certain types of floors, the lockers we're using, like the company that I'm so closely connected with is Grid, and love them. I mean, they have the locker, it's got a soft close on it instead of it slamming all the time. That's important for stress, noise reduction, just the whole feel good thing. And people just don't understand. The same thing with the flooring. They just think I'm going to put the cheapest flooring, but in that wellness recovery space, you want flooring that has some little padding in it. It feels comfortable and softer. You just want to make sure that programming is everything from the where they step to where they got to put their stuff, because like in a locker room, they're going to go in and out of it, so they'll get two engagements with it. Maybe you just have a separate little cubby lockers in the wellness recovery space, but you want everything to be part of the whole experience and part of the program and the whole thought process. So going back to what you were asking, it's all about skill development. So you have to be, well, I recommend or suggest, you can do whatever you want, you got choices. But like me, I own the modalities, the equipment. I test and train on them constantly. I'm not owned by any manufacturer, so I don't have to be, and you don't see me on here pitching stuff just to get a buck or a profit in my pocket for that reason. No, again, I'm selling the solution, and a piece of equipment's part of it potentially. Maybe we start with the programming, but again, it's so just good for me not to be owned by any particular manufacturer, so that I don't have to be, totally committed and just trying to push that only as a solution, when For me, I believe in good, better, best, and that includes the programmings and the modalities. And where it gets really interesting, Marcel, is that usually the least expensive modalities get the greatest results, have the greatest flexibility, and can be used across the widest range of potential members versus an extreme thing. And again, nothing against extreme stuff. And I'm just using a cryo chamber, for example. Cryo chamber is $110,000. Got expensive, electrical bills, maintenance, and everything else, HVAC stuff. A lot to it. I'm just saying, there's a lot to it. I love them. Just kind of giving you an idea. But for me, I'll use an instant cryo handheld made out of aircraft aluminum. It's using CO2. I can take it anywhere in the club I want. So I love that. I can take it to events. So I have a lot of things I can do with it. But because they don't have to strip down, get into a thing, do all kinds of testing, I can move, because it has a laser sensor to it. I can move it away from or closer to adjust the intensity based on the individual and make it more personalized. And because their head's not in it, I don't have to worry about pulmonary issues either, or frostbite or anything else. So there's where, from a coach or a trainer's perspective, becomes such a great experience, because you'll see me use it on a client before we do a set of something. And when they get done, they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is so much better. I've never experienced that before. That's what the whole... So they came to me wanting a result. I gave them a program that has this stacked into it. I applied it at a certain point in the program, do the exercise or whatever else we're going to do next, and then use that to enhance the experience and the results, so that they come away with it seeing the value, and then believing and just loving it and taking ownership and just wanting to be there, not having to be there. There's a big difference. They want to show up. They enjoy the experience. They get great results. They love that. And the coaching is just, it's not even a question. Yes, I want to hire a coach, because they know what they can and will do. It's crystal clear. They have certainty. That's what I like. Versus, why should I hire a personal trainer? They're expensive. Aren't they just for celebrities? I'm not sure. Let me think about it. Yeah, none of that.
Yeah, no, I think there's something to be said there, right? You're defining what an owner, an operator should be thinking of, the workflow. Member comes into my gym, how are they greeted? How is their access? Is it frictionless? They're going to the locker room. Is it clean? Is it well lit? Is it welcoming? What's the type of energy and flow? Then they get they change into their clothes or come change, and they're putting their stuff away. Do they feel safe enough that it's going to be there when they come back? That's should not be a concern without being said, but I've seen it happen in every single environment. And then they walk in, and then what's the I always look at it as the religion of the gym, right? Is it a high intensity, or does it have Olympic weightlifting equipment, or does it have select rise equipment, or is it like a hybrid of all that's trying to give access to a community there? You have like several unique cases that you have on your website, like Amplify Fitness, and even with Sarah Thompson's story out of a small footprint to Performance Lab, where it sounds like you almost like dug in and became like a fractional manager, making sure that the programming is in place and that they at least follow it, so then they could see the outcomes. How long did that take, and where does break even look like when someone decides to make this investment?
Excellent. So first thing you should know that we created, and I'm so super grateful. I've got an amazing gentleman that I work with. I've got actually a team of 3, but this is like the brains behind the operation. It's not me. I'm like the creative guy in the programming and the application, but there's a brain behind our operation. And what he did was designed basically an AI agent, or an assessment evaluation, if you want to call that. And that's where the whole engineering piece to this thing starts. is before we get into anything, we start with this assessment, just like you would training a client. So I kind of carry the philosophy over from, if you're going to train a client to get results, what's the first thing you do? You do an intake. You ask questions and find out where they're at and what they want to accomplish with that space. And then you kind of go the other direction. So instead of starting with equipment cost, we start with how much square footage you're going to dedicate for this space. Beautiful. How many members do you currently have? How much of that current membership are you going to use this as a VIP upgrade? And what percentage of members were you hoping to get there? Is this going to be programming you can sell? Is this for members and non-members? So there's a lot. We want to go through that steps first. And then by that time, once we hear that, it's like, now let's start picking modalities. So I let them pick what they think and believe first. And then I'm listening, always patiently and respectfully. And then I know in my mind, it's like, well, here's what I would be doing. And then the other thing we always ask too is, this is where we get everybody. You want to talk about stumping somebody or stopping them right in their track? Ask them, what are the results that your members want to achieve with this modalities, with this space? What are their current problems? What are their biggest challenges they're facing right now? They're hoping that your selection of this product and designation of this space is going to help them achieve, so that they see the value of it and they want to invest into it. And they don't even have a clue.
Yeah.
No, it's just my recovery space. Okay, well, define recovery then. They don't even know what the definition of recovery is. I'm like, okay, so you want to put stuff that's going to help with that. You don't even know what it is. So I just want to start kind of educating very respectfully. It's like, well, here's what recovery really is. And, I study so much from Joel Jameson and other amazing people in that space. We're just trying to manage fatigue or recharge the battery. Training's draining it. Work can drain it. Family, stress. A lot of things can drain that battery or the energy from them. What are we using to recharge them up so that they can keep going, right? Versus drain it and then they're sick, injured, ill, or die. So that's kind of the process that we're going to. So once we kind of get a definition of recovery, what are the problems and challenges your members have that they're wanting? They don't even know their own members. A lot of facilities don't even care about their members and what the results they want. That's a challenge. I mean, we're in the people business and get results business, not just the access, but some owners, operators, that is their business model. We're in the access only. So they stick stuff in, to your point, just to say you did it. Hey, we stick some stuff in there. We want to charge extras. Whether people use it, don't use it, trainers like it, don't like it, whatever, we got it. Box ticked, done, franchise, move on. So it just really the mentality and the heart of the owners and operators and what they want most for their members. I work with some amazing owners for many years, and I still do now. Lori and Jeremy Lowell Gold's Gyms up in Virginia, they were a big part of my career, along with the export Juan Carlos Santana down there in Boca Raton at IHP. So, some great people. And then some of my mirrors, like Jason Stella and EK Navon, EK, who was with Recovery and Regimen Fitness. Those are people we still stay connected with. And we're all always comparing notes and looking at what's going on. So back to the point there. So you start with that question process, and that kind of tells us right then and there. And it's amazing. Watch it. Well, I'm going to put 15 of this one modality in. And when we find out it's the least profitable, gets the least usage, and gets the least results, you should watch the way but everybody else puts the number in. Why is all these gyms doing that then? And I'm like, I don't know, other than they're just ticking a box to say me too. But if you really care and you're really interested and you understand, you with me? Do you understand that the wellness longevity business is in the trillions of dollars, 6.8 to $9 trillion, and growing and going to keep growing? Because it's part of the program and part of the system. Work or training plus recovery equals the best results and success and retention, referrals, including staff, by the way, including staff. So even when people are choosing recovery modalities, I want to know what your existing staff and coaches and trainers have, because I want them using it and believing as well too, because I want to retain them. Did you hear that? I can't find one operator yet that's picking modalities that they allow their staff to use as well too, because they want to retain their staff, that they care that much about their staff and managing their stress and their fatigue. Huh? How about that?
But you bring up, I mean, there's many ways to go with it. Like I would love to get your opinion on some industry stuff, but I think you're talking about on the business side of this, since we're there, operationally, we have four generations in the space, and why that number of, potentially $9 trillion is going to be relevant is because Gen Z is the most um, about experience and about wellness modalities, and then you got the Gen X, and that's going to be eventually, at that point of their life, they're going to want to keep active and want to feel young and want to feel recovered faster. These are all tools that are relevant to them because within 10 years, they're going to be the largest over 65 age group category ever in existence. We're going from like 4 to 8 million, so it's very relevant because the gym floor now is different. It's gone are the days of just having selectorized equipment and cardiovascular machines. You got to have what you're talking about is a workspace that resonates with everyone. Uh, do you feel like the industry is making that change? Are we really seeing yet the future of gyms right now, or do you feel like it's starting to shake out now? Because post-pandemic, we've had a lot of turnover, we've had a lot of merger and acquisition, and we've had a lot of unfortunate business closures. Um, where do you see the future of the gym? Is it still in development? What are some good examples that you feel that should be, you say infrastructure. What are some things there that they might need to be doing a little bit better, and who's doing it better?
Well, I completely agree with you, and such a great point that you were making. The current generations and future generations, one thing they've learned from us, and I'm so grateful and thankful to them for this, is they don't like being stressed out, burnt out, worked out, and ready to drop out and give out. They like being energized. They like feeling alive and good. They like being positive, not always negative and hating. So for them, man, I applaud them for not wanting to be burnt out, worked out, stressed out, and then left out. They love to be energized. They love to feel good. And that's what the wellness longevity side, the recovery side's all about. It's about charging your battery, feeling good, stuff that makes you feel good, that makes you feel well, or helps in that process, helps. Because still, sleep, nutrition, hydration, your environment, music, there's a lot more to the recovery side than just modalities you put in a gym or a facility. So much credit to them for what they're choosing as far as a lifestyle, because they see so many of their parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts, they're just stressed out, burnt out, worked out. I mean, they worked nonstop and they sacrificed the quality of their life. Whereas this generation, they're absolutely not doing that. So I'm with them on that, and I support that. But I'm also a balanced person. So yeah, I love strength training. I love doing some, all the MMA and other fun stuff. I mountain bike. I go hiking in the mountains here in Sweet Home, Alabama. So I love being outdoors and working on the farm and things like that, being physical. But at the same time, I've come to learn and respect the value of balance. So there's the difference, at least from my generation. I'm learning to balance a lot more versus ignore it, reject it, or just think of it as something very insignificant, where meaning you just buy some stuff and you stick it in there and you just say done, because you're not using it, you're not experiencing it, you're not testing and measuring, which is another great thing that you brought up. With Polar, that was the biggest thing. We tested and measured every single member, so I would know where they were. And then when we had the chest strap on and we're training them, we could see and manage that fatigue, thanks to Joel Jameson, 8weeksout.com, and Morpheus and all those guys. That kind of helped us, have a direction. We would manage them so they didn't get exhausted, pass out, or give out, and then they could come back. Then when we started adding the recovery stuff, at that point we were using Power Plate and hyperized products and stuff like that. The the little pods, the wellness pods, that had steam and red light and stuff in them. And our members went nuts. They loved that. So we learned real early. This is 16 years ago, before recovery was even anything. And that was Danny Morrissey, Export Fitness, and Jamie Taylor, our whole group, when we got together and made this whole amazing experience. So I would just be so grateful now, and just supporting of the future generations, that they're getting it right. They understand balance, and they understand it's better to feel good than to feel stressed and burnt out and overworked and getting less results, and just trying to search for a solution or a gimmick to fix that. So I like that a lot. I love where you went with that.
It's optimizing, right? Like that's really
Yes,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
personalization. I know that term's kind of overused. When somebody says, "Oh, it's personalized," I go, "Well, what
yeah,
does that mean?" And
yeah.
for us, it's DNA testing, it's VO2 testing, DEXA scanning testing, all gold standards.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get any argument or pushback from anybody when I say those three standards. DNA, hello. VO2, done. DEXA, done. Now I have a starting point. I can look and I know a direction, then the programming comes right there with it. And it is always a balance. And just like I shared before, recovery could be done between sets to manage fatigue. And again, we're looking at heart rates and stuff as well too. We're doing HRV measuring as well every single day, so that we're seeing, are we going in the right direction with people? Because a lot of times, and I'll just kind of wrap with this, a lot of these modalities, if I did a heavy strength training, which again, I've seen that tons of time, and then they like a deep tissue massage, that's more cortisol, more sympathetic response, because I'm watching heart rates. I use a heart rate monitor on a massage. That's how I learned this. And I had our top clients wearing heart rate monitors during the massages. You see the heart rate spiking higher than sometimes it did in the training. So when we would see them not show back up or couldn't make their appointments, and our session service went down, we started trying to figure out what's going on. And that's what we're learning, is that we call them sympatheticaholics. They're so sympathetic dominant. They just love everything high intensity, everything extreme. There's no balance again. So that's what the current generations are learning. That's what we're learning when we're programming in the wellness recovery modalities. Hey, if you did a high intensity training today or heavy lifting and you got real sympathetic drive, the last thing, and again, if it's not programmed, you don't know it, the last thing they would need is a cold plunge, a cryo chamber, or a sauna. Those are going to be more extreme stuff. What they would need is something really hybridly in between that. Red light bed, just as one example, flotation of some sort, just things that calm them. Hey, PMF, my number one go-to modality nowadays, low frequency, it activates a parasympathetic response, meaning rest and relax. So you got to select the modalities, you got to program them to make sure the members are getting the results, managing the fatigue, and making sure that's going to help retain them and get the results. So you look at your retention numbers, there's a big part of it. When you don't care, you don't train your staff, you don't train your trainers, you don't have programs for your members based on where they're at, what they're doing each day, so that you can say, here's what they need to do, and they just do whatever they like to do. Usually they just go deeper in the hole. So anyway, it's all about measuring and programming and listening and caring about what your members are doing.
So if we have a gym owner right now that's listening and they basically are now with equipment regret, buying something, what's your advice? Do they salvage it, or do they cut their losses?
Absolutely not. There's no doom and gloom with me. You know that, man. First thing I do is say, hey, well, let's come up with a plan. Hey, let's come. You are where you are. No matter what in your training or anything else, you are where you are. Hey, is this thing working, by the way? You are where you are. So let's start with where you're at, and let's come up with some programming and some training. Let's just start there with some programming and training. And if you got multiple locations and you're looking to add some other stuff to another location, maybe we take some of this and shift it over there and bring some other stuff into this. It's just conversation and seeing where people are at, but it's helping them. I'm here to serve and help people, not just to sell them something. So what could I do to help them right now? So again, they could hire me just to do staff training, programming, put better solutions together with that. And then, hey, test it out for a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a day. I don't care. just to prove it. I love proving those things to owners and business operators. But no, it would be throwing everything out and starting from scratch, be saying, okay, because a lot of them do have really good, high quality modalities and stuff that are in there. There's just no program, there's no staff training, no one knows what it does or the result it could get for them. There's no communication or engagement now. Everything, in fact, most clubs try and put the stuff in there, meaning throw the stuff in there in a space, and they want it to be fully automated, meaning a member or staff, nobody ever talks to anybody. The members don't talk to either. You just go into a spot and get something and leave. So I'm a bigger community guy where you got members and staff and people engaging and talking and interacting and creating that stickiness. You always hear that. The member experience, I always hear that. I go, show me your best member experience. I can definitely do it with all these modalities, together. So there could be a hybrid of that. But I would just say, let's just start with some staff training, some programming, some communication with members, finding out what they're wanting and looking for results wise, and figuring out which of these do that. And then could we just maybe plug or play one, maybe two smaller, lower investment type modalities just to kind of plug maybe a spot or an option hole in there just to kind of complete the whole package there. So if that's possible, if not, then we just take what they got. We make the best of it. That's if you got to make them money with what they got first before you can do anything else. So we'll just go there.
Do you think that survey of your membership base, is it best to do through Facebook, through SMS? What's been your best experience at deploying that and how often do you do that survey?
So yes, and I'm a big, me, I'm a person. We're in the people business. I believe in engaging and communicating with members. At the facilities I was at this week, members love to talk, and communicate. Unless they got earbuds or something else in there, and they're antisocial or they're just in a zone, or maybe they got stuff going on. But I greet members at the door and I ask them all the time, "Hey, we got a survey going on. 2 quick questions, this and that." So it couldn't be something long, it doesn't need to be anything long, but for sure it could be on a social media type thing because a lot of people do respond to that. But I'll do all the above. I want my staff and I want myself to be more engaged with the members, listening, and, having communication with them and learning. That's a skill set, learning how to communicate to people. That was one of the biggest challenges I saw on the club side. They were scared to death to go out on the floor because they just didn't know how to communicate and talk to people. And that was kind of like, are you kidding me? No, it's a real thing now. It's a skill. It's a skill. Just like applying these modalities with recovery, it's a skill that involves engagement and experience. And that experience could be phenomenal, or it could be or it just could be not, it could be negative, right? So that skill set, that training for that staff member, really super value. And most club operators just believe in sticking stuff in and not training their staff for doing anything. So that's why you don't see the great results, and no programs either. So, all right. And then no communication with the members to know what they want. So not that this is complicated, but it's just not being done or cared about.
No, there was a lot of unspoken rules in gyms that are no longer applicable or not acknowledged. Like one is working in on equipment. Um, I'm dumbfounded that I've had this experience. So as a colleague that posted about it, she was talking about trying to get in on a hip abduction machine. So she asked if she could work in, and this other person said, "No, no, no, I'm doing this, this, and this. You have to wait." And when we joined any facility, it was said, "Hey, just wipe down, change your weight, get your set in, then courtesy is here you go. It's your turn now." you know? But like today, this younger generation, the unspoken rules that are just known are not there. And to your point, people skills, no one wants to talk in that generation, no, because they don't want to, they'd rather text that information than have an eye to eye, face to face conversation because it causes them stress. It's interesting how they communicate or how they prefer to communicate. They'd rather read it.
Well, so let me offer a couple of points of wisdom on that one. I don't think it's an age thing, first of all,
Okay,
because I'm seeing all age groups doing that nowadays.
that's a good point.
Uh,
Yes.
I think so. And same thing with my son. I mean, my son Darren, I'm his biggest fan. But I trained him because he was with me at Export Fitness from basically from the day he was born, all the way up through high school and stuff. And he knows how to wipe equipment down. He worked at a top level gym as well too as front desk, so he knew how to be respectful and greet people and communicate to them. And then he also worked on the cleaning staff, so he cleaned the equipment, cleaned the stuff up. When he trains in the gym, he always puts his weights away. He always cleans his equipment off. So it's me. I'm the parent, and then his coaches and everybody else around him, my brothers and my family and everybody else. It's us training him and setting that standard and helping him understand that. So that's all on me. I take full responsibility for how I raise my son and what he does when he leaves. And if he doesn't, then I'll in the general manager of the club, I'll call the general manager and I'll say, if my son ever doesn't do something and you give him one warning, he doesn't, cancel his membership. I just let him know I'm not going to have that. I'll pay for a membership without him having access to it. I'm just not going to let. I'd rather him have the money than not have somebody in there that gets that luxury. And then the other thing on the like you said, it's just selfishness. I see a lot of that, disrespecting of others, not concerned about others' needs and things like that. I just at the club down in Texas this week, one of my associates with Grid went to get on a treadmill, and he's on it. He's on the treadmill using it, and a member walks up and goes, "This is my treadmill. You have to get off."
Oh my God.
And this wasn't a young person. This was an older person, right?
Ah,
And
I
my colleague,
yeah.
who's an amazing guy as well, too, he's just in shock. So, I'm just letting you know, my response to something like that was, well, I'm afraid you're wrong. Here's the receipt. I just purchased it from the
I
manager
stand
downstairs, so
corrected
you
on that
need
one.
to
I
go buy
agree.
another one. But
There is
you're
court.
right. It's just that selfishness and that it's all about me type thing mentality versus me. I come from a different raising and background. I'm a selfless person. I'm a serving person. So I'm happy to, and I know, from being at Gold's Gym, Venice Beach, and in LA Fitness, some of these other places. Now we always were working in and being respectful for everybody. So, and I tell you who's the best at that I know of right now. If you ever want to go see an amazing gym that can prove this to you, that it can happen in this day and time, that's the Hive Gym down in Arizona.
I
They
agree.
they the owners down there, amazing couple, but they post on their social media.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit here on a piece of equipment and do your social media posting. You're not going to do this. You're not going to sit and relax. You're not. It's about training and getting results and getting in and getting out, and then going over here into another space and hanging out, or going over into another space and doing wellness recovery. But when you're on the floor, it's about training. It's about moving. It ain't about static and filming and all this other stuff. But there are some clubs that I was at down in Texas that it's like an after nightclub. So it's not a nightclub; it's an after nightclub type
Yeah.
of experience. And everybody and their grandmothers in there posting social media stuff. That's what the owner wants. That's what he created.
Well,
You want
it's
to talk about an
another.
amazing club? Yeah,
It,
that's
it,
one.
it
So
is a social environment, right? So
yes,
that's the whole other thing. It's people, get meet there and they might get married. People, so it is a community. It's really cool. It's as close as what you're going to get on playing on a team. That's the way I always tell people. It's like that's why I loved it when I owned and I even operated in New York City. I loved it so much, and that's what I missed so much. I equate it to like not being able to play on my football team or my baseball team, and the people that I regularly saw, the members that I regularly saw, knowing them by name, and you know, I still talk to them. They still reach out to me, and it's like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm sitting there going, well, I'm like, to your point, it's like, well, what are you trying to do? What's this for? Well, it's for
right,
my arthritis, or it's for, and I'm like, okay, let's take a look at what the research says, but then also what's practical, what do practitioners actually do with this, that we've seen work, and it's like, okay, like, because half the time, I think, what I've experienced is a lot of people will just dive in and buy equipment and lay it out without workflow, optimization, staffing. And it comes back to bite them in the butt. And then they're so jaded that when you're a vendor like you and me, and we walk in there and say, I really feel like I could help you in dealing with this if you've implemented, some type of work outcome based on a tech stack. And it could
Right.
be because this is all technology, you know,
Mhm.
but I think the industry is a little one right now. It is it's at a really uncertain time. We went from great numbers last year to it tailing off to starting out this year with gym memberships not being at the highest, relevantly flat, let's say. Um, what what are some things that you feel could help in an owner and operator understand? It's not like I I've spoken with owners like yourself and operators like yourself that, I always say, well, is more members a solution? And often than not, that's not. It's how you're servicing your current membership base, because if you could improve their lifetime there, their utilization, and their engagement, it could lead to other amenities and services in your facility. Is that a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement. And, as you mentioned earlier, and how I engineer a space, part of the engineering is, we did that questionnaire, then we build the right stack. It's like each one of those modalities has a specific, and sometimes it can be multiple results that it's focused on. So we're picking those to do that. But then you got to design a winnable category. So again, based on the results and for the staff that you do have, it needs to be super clear and easy for them to understand. It should be easy to sell. That's why programs sell way easier than museum tours, but they still love doing that as well. Easy to explain. Something, hey, it's pulsing energy into your body, PMF. It's pulsing energy in your body. It's helping with blood flow. Okay. Instant cryo. Hey, it's helping with joint pain. It's helping with blood flow in there. It's helping to cool you down, relax you, or it's trying to energize you. Just depends on how you use it. But I'm always listening to the person and saying, so to make it easy to explain, hey, you told me you got real low energy levels. Well, let me try this on you for 30 seconds. And I just give them a blast like on their hand so they can kind of feel it. And then I'll do like the side of their neck, the vagus nerve area. Next thing you know, they're just like, oh, and just a little bit on the cervical spine. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I feel wide awake and alive now. So they get to experience it. So it's easier to explain. And then you go back up. That's our stress less program. Would you like to sign up and get started today? It should be an easy sell, not, well, we got this membership, and this membership. Okay, but you don't have a solution and a program based on the result or the problem I have.
Yeah.
It's all about what you have that you want to get from me, not what I have and what I want and what I'm willing to invest back into. So if that helps.
It does, because you bring up a lot of uh, vagus nerve stimulation. What you mentioned there is by far an underutilized tool. We're talking about 4 minutes of application. You know, you could easily do that in a cool down session.
Yeah,
So you just get them off the weight floor or off their finisher. You bring them to a small little, you have stretch area, bring in the machine, have the machine there, or have some type of vagal nervous stimulation that they could simply apply. You
that's
know,
PMF. That's exactly
yeah,
what PMF does.
yeah.
Really.
It's a no-brainer, and it's not like when we say optimization, I'm not saying like you got to construct a whole new floor.
Right.
Um, because that's the other thing too. Because the skeptics really, how do you feel like owners today are an active participant, or are they heavily dependent upon their manager that they put in place?
Well, yeah, hey, it's dependent because the franchises, they have their people at the top and they dictate everything down. There is because it is a franchise, so there's no room for anything other than follow orders and do what I tell you to do. So it's a little different from that. You're
No,
seeing more and more of the big brands buying up everybody and their grandmother. So but then you're seeing a lot of, which I think is inspirational, a lot more of these localized bodybuilding gyms popping up and having great success. And so they're where they would have more of that type of communication and opportunity as well too. And it's going to be really interesting to see. Mark Mastroff's back in the game,
Yeah,
and
fun
his
news.
his guy Mike Feeney, who you want to talk about a genius and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, they're going to be doing some pretty amazing things. I can't wait to see
It,
what they come up with.
that circa, I mean, we were, we're still in the industry, but I mean, to live during that time of what Mastroff did, what all these, like all the facilities that were making systems at that time, because it's still relevantly new. It really was the
Yep,
80s and 90s.
yep.
It's like 30 years old if you think about it, that we've actually changed, like the infancy of this, and you're talking about the renaissance of bodybuilding gyms again. It's because Gold's Gym had post-pandemic has created a vacuum, even though through their rebranding, they're bringing themselves back into life. You had other boutique facilities, but I feel like the boutique swung the pendulum too far and niched themselves too uh, specific. I feel like a facility needs to have the flexibility and be more general, and should be more general, because it's a diverse community.
Well, and where I may pause on that is if like right now you're seeing the rebirth again of Pilates. I mean, that's been around a long time, and it just kind of ebbs and flows. Now it's back on it's spiking, and it depends on people's passion and involvement. So I'm not going to try and be a hit studio, Pilates, yoga, all in the same space, because it's totally different vibes in
Yeah,
there. So I'm okay with them being focused on a market, but just realize you better be able to pivot if that goes cold or starts to trim down. So there's got to be room to, like you said, to be flexible. And I think EK, when he did Regimen Fitness, he had 5 in 1. So you had the box, burn, build. So you had he was the first smart one to kind of do it.
all in pods.
Yes, yes. So I love that concept, and really respected that one a lot, because he did have the ability. So if something didn't go well, he could just add more classes of a build or a burn or whatever. So he had the flexibility in there based on where the trend was going, or just what the members wanted, or
Yeah,
maybe that geographic location wanted.
yeah. He brought in aerodyne bikes. He brought in
Yep.
cardiovascular equipment to complement it. He's a great example of it. I think
Yeah.
he did something different and new.
And then
You
he
know,
started the Covery. So think
yeah,
about it. He started the Covery, and he was one of the first people he was doing with medical side,
yeah.
with hormones and peptides and
He,
IVs and everything. So he was way ahead of the curve, and so yeah, and he still is. That's one of my top go-to guys that I stay very close with and have the finger on that pulse or heart rate, whatever you want to call it, because
yeah.
he's definitely right there on the edge with everything.
I I've worked with EK on a decentralized trial approach where we used PPG sensors
Yeah.
to a cohort of that was doing PMF, that did different modalities and protocols to your credit. Um, and we measured those physical outcomes. And so we could recommend the chat, like I think the whoever cracks this is going to make ubers of money. The challenge right now is getting that data or to predict sooner after modality and before modality needed. So it's still not there, but what we need is to collect the data. So when you talk to an owner and operator, I mean, right now you have, I think, the equivalent of the of a tower of Babel with wearable technology. Tons of data, nothing centralized yet. It's getting better, but it's still unstructured majority of the time, and the standards are everywhere. Like, is it a wellness indicator? Is it an FDA indicator? I mean, I've had several discussions about this. When you make recommendations, do you lean towards any specific, I know you like polar, but do you look at specific standards or do you look at specific protocols? You brought up also Joel Jameson, who I know uses
Oh yeah.
HRV for programming zones and programming recovery, and his app's really cool. I've seen Morpheus. I've used it. I've used their wearable. I've known Joel. I know Joel going back to his strength coaching days when he bought a Team 2 system, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
then went to Omega Wave and was just really mad that Omega Wave was so expensive that he wanted to create his own solution. Hence what he created 8 weeks later with working with the MMA group after his strength coaching group. So
So, and to your point, the one thing I don't want to do is add stress or complexity to any of this. So there's where the DNA test that done. Once we got DNA test done, VO2, DEXA if possible, or it's the closest thing you can get to DEXA. I mean, I believe in the gold standard, but if there's something that's at least respectful and close to the DEXA, a lot of people say they are, but I mean,
what,
DEXA is still
what do you
gold
think of
standard.
InBody?
What's that?
I'm
Well, and that's why I said if it's something comparable, whatever. Again, DEXA's my gold standard go-to,
yeah,
so it's like VO2 max. Again, I was using the Polar little predicted
margin of
VO2,
error
and
of
again, that was a
9%.
good starting point. It was a good starting point, but if you actually did a true VO2 CO2 analyzer, you saw that the numbers were pretty significantly out there. So to me, I just keep it VO2, DEXA, DNA, and then we'll do blood, like with the little thumb prick or shoulder thing, real simple, nothing. So you don't have to go to a lab or anything, and they submit that from home. So they'll do that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Exactly. So we'll do that every 6 to 8, 12 weeks, and just to see how their body's dealing with stuff. And then HRV and heart rate, just again, keeping it simple, not complex, simple apps, same thing too, just stuff. They can just give us feedback and not try and make it so analytical and so technical because I'm dealing with fitness people. I'm not dealing with $100 million athlete. If I am, it's probably a very different type scenario.
It's also no reoccurring fee on that, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a lot less of a headache because the SaaS subscription nightmare of the industry is what we're
Yes,
seeing
sir.
now. We're seeing that in the stock market currently too.
Yes, sir.
So it's going to be interesting how everything shakes out. So I really want to thank you. I think I could talk to you for hours. If anyone wants to find out more about your services, where can they go?
Just as simple as to the website, roinwellness.com. Keep it as simple as possible. And then also too, I've worked with, like I was sharing with you, I'm doing the flooring and the locker side because that's part of the whole experience now with
Yeah.
Grid. And I love Grid, and I'm so grateful to those guys as well. And it is amazing just how big and important of a variable that is in the whole experience, because members are interacting with that, and it's got to be just as part of and just programmed into it as well too. So,
Ashraf built that into his UFC gyms. He built that
oh yeah,
into like I saw that actually here in Brown's Fitness local to me and the grids. I didn't have to have a locker. I didn't have to bring my locker. I just threw my stuff in. It's a simple code. To your point, it doesn't slam shut, so you freak out. It's a big difference. It's just really cool. I really can't wait to see how it rolls out the rest of the year. Are you going to be attending HFA?
I will be there. Actually, I'll be at Grid's booth for that show. But and then I'll be all over the show as well too, walking around doing some interviews and doing some stuff like that, testing new things, looking for stuff because I'm always looking as well too. But yeah, excited about that. And you're going to be at the show?
I'm actually debating. I'm possibly so.
Well, it's San
Because
Diego, so
yeah,
any chance I get to go to San Diego, I love San Diego. And then
it's my
with Grid,
favorite.
yeah, and with
My
Grid, they're going to
favorite.
be showing a new high tech type locker. I won't spill the beans yet, but there's again the member experience begins and ends with the first step in the door. The modalities, the equipment, all that's part of it. But nowadays, the flooring, the lockers, everything, the lighting, everything's becoming a part of it. The furniture, just the way the rooms flow and the
Even
separation stuff.
the scent
Yeah,
of the rooms, and
yeah, Yeah.
It's an environment, like, but to your point, like, what can you do? How can you optimize with the budget that you have,
Yes, sir.
get you to the revenue that you want to generate? So I encourage everyone to catch up with Victor either at HFA or at his website. Thanks again for the opportunity. I loved it. Look forward to doing this again.
Thanks.